All right, episode 14.
All right, 14.
How are we feeling today, Al?
Feeling great. You know, it's one of those days where it's just everything's going all right, nothing wrong happened. I got a haircut for the first time in like 4 to 5 months, so that feels good.
I know. I literally feel like my hair right now, it's like is like 100. Like you know my hair. I'm like my hair is like that of a gorilla. It is so fucking thick. It's crazy. And I haven't gotten it thinned out in 5 months. Like there could be like a small person living in my hair right now, and I wouldn't even know. Like it's that dense. I cannot wait to
your
go
hair gets
this
hot,
week.
right? It gets hot in the sun.
Oh yeah, it's like I always tell people like between that and my boobs, like it's like built-in insulation. Like you know, they just keep me so warm. That's why I'm always hot as fuck probably. And it's my hair is dark, so like in the sun, it's like a laser beam just going straight through my head. Like I love LA, but I'm like my body is built for like Siberia. Like I'm living in the wrong spot. So yeah, I don't even know. Speaking of Siberia and traveling places, I really am trying to get myself into Fight Island for the UFC.
What is that?
It's like where it's literally the island that Dana White has bought so they can have fights and not have it be, like regulated because of the pandemic. So I'm trying to, I literally told my friend Kim, start sending your nudes to like UFC fighters, send your nudes to Joe Schilling because we need tickets to Fight Island. So I'm not above pimping my friends out for this. It's like Fight Island or bust is basically my attitude right now.
What about pimping yourself out, though? It's just your friends?
No, yeah, just my friends. Listen, I have like a reputation I got to keep up with. You know, I got to be.
Course.
They're not going to hire me as like a commentator if I bald half of the guy. You know what I mean? Like you got to keep it. You got to keep it semi-profesh, even with UFC. But yeah, so. But Dana White also is like, I mean, as usual, he's like pissing me off because I bought ESPN Plus because they said you had to buy it in order to watch the fights. And then once you buy it, they're like, oh, and then it's like an extra $10 for this. Oh, and then it's like, you know, an extra $20. It's like the airlines, basically. Like you bought what they told you to buy, and then he's like, you bought what they told you to buy. And then he's like, oh, you wanted to like watch the fight visually? Like you didn't want to just experience it, you know, telepathically? Oh, then that's another $40. Like, oh, you wanted to watch it on a screen? Oh, sorry, that's another $60. I'm like, okay. Before I know it, the fights are costing me like $90. And like, you know what, Dana? Like Dana, we're in a pandemic, okay? I can't be dropping $90 on a fight to sit here in my kimono with my unshaved legs and watch it by myself. Like, there should have been like a price cut due to what's going on. So,
You know what's free most of the time?
What?
Professional wrestling.
Oh, WWE? What does it, it's free? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, the special events are through their service, which is only $10 a month. But everything else is free. Yeah, it's all on, USA and I don't know what other channels they have.
I don't even know. Well, actually, speaking of wrestlers, I was very impressed with, as you see, Stone Cold Steve Austin like went off on that chick who was like defending the Confederate flag. He like, read her the riot act, literally like in all caps. Like that was like my favorite part was he was like he was like a pissed off woman. Like he texted back in all caps and put this chick in her place. And nothing turns me on when like, or nothing turns me on more than when like a white alpha male is like, does the right thing like that.
Oh, absolutely. I would have sex with Steve Austin. He's the man.
Yeah, he's really hot. Honestly, though, because I'm not a boy, like the way I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin is because he was always on like the WWE cookie or like the ice cream cookie. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Of course, yeah, the beige ice cream cookie, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember like I would always see that when I was at the town pool. It would be like Stone Cold Steve Austin like on a cookie, and I was like, oh shit, like this guy's fucking doing it. Can you imagine being so famous that like how many people, famous or not really, can say that their face has been on an ice cream other than cartoon characters? Like who else has been on an ice cream?
That's a good question. You don't really see humans on ice cream that much.
No.
Besides wrestlers.
Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing like any other professional athlete or any other celebrity on an ice cream cone. That's my new goal. Like that's how I'll know I made it, is when I can have ice creams like with my face. Like, how dope is that? Like having like an edible version of yourself.
Yeah, a Brie freeze. I like it.
Yeah, so that's what's going on in my life right now. I'm also now like following all of these boxers from the UK, which is like, it's interesting like how so many people have picked up like useful habits and useful like interests like during the pandemic. And for me, I'm basically just like becoming like a frat brother. Like I'm digressing and I'm becoming like a 20-year-old college guy during the pandemic. That's like my claim to fame. Now I'm like into this boxing thing. Do you know who Eddie Hearn is from the UK?
I've heard the name, but not particularly.
Eddie Hearn is basically like, or I would compare him to like the Dana White of Britain. He's like a big boxing promoter, and Eddie Hearn is so hot. He's 6'5". Like I would ride him like Space Mountain. Like he is really cute. And I think it's not just that he's like hot, but he's like really funny. Like he has like a great personality. And that just like, that does it for me. And then when I found out, because I kind of felt like he was like tiny. And then when I found out he was 6'5", I was like, fuck me up. This guy is too much. You got to check him out though. He's hysterical. And he has like a bunch of like, you know, like fake accounts on Instagram, like dedicated to like whatever he's doing. Like I cry. Whole meme accounts dedicated to him.
So what is this guy doing? Why is he brought up?
He is a famous boxing promoter, probably the top boxing promoter, I think, in the UK. So,
yeah, why are we talking about him?
Well, they just announced that Tyson Fury, do you know who he is? The Gypsy King?
Yes.
He's like one of the top heavyweights in the world, or the top heavyweights in the world, is fighting, I don't want to fuck this up. I think his name's Anthony Joshua, who is like the other top person. I should know. I clearly have much more to learn. But I know it's like a huge deal, and they just entered into an agreement that they're both going to fight next year. So it was making headlines all this week.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's like, I love how everybody's like making plans for the pandemic like 3 years out, because like nobody knows, like tomorrow is not promised. So people are like, they're like, yeah, like we're going to do it in 2023 when hopefully everything is like semi back to normal again.
There's already UFC happening. Isn't that true?
Well, UFC and wrestling, yes. Those are basically the only two sports. I know that they're trying to get other sports. I know Florida just said that they could do, like, I think college sports. So
I think they're reopening all sports very soon. There's going to be some sort of announcement with all 6 major sports commissioners together to reopen sports.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I want things to reopen. I just am, like, not convinced that we're out of the woods with this pandemic thing. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Clearly, you know, there's a reason why I'm not head of the CDC. So, apropos
I guess, no, I don't think anyone is willing to do it longer. I think a majority of America is running to the streets right now because there's in such need of culture that I don't think, if you're the government, I don't think there's anything you can even do. Even if you wanted people to stay in, I don't think it's happening.
I know it's, I don't know. I feel like irresponsible, but I also like, I do miss regular life. Like, I don't know. Yeah. But I feel like, again, like this show is like titled Bri Hunter is fucked because of the way that my life has gone the past 27 years. So the likelihood of me being one of the ones that dies is like so high. Like that would fucking happen to me, you know?
Yeah.
I survived like all this other stuff. Like I was doing totally fine. And then fucking coronavirus takes me out at 27. Like, you know, and actually
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. It's a funny thought.
No, it is fun. It's fun. Yeah. For me, it's hysterical. Like that would be me. And then I always say too, like my friends, like my close friends have explicit instructions that like, when I die, one of you needs to come to my house immediately, smash my hard drive, and smash my cell phone. Like, I don't want anybody knowing, you know, any of my shit. Like, there are things on my phone, there are DMs, there are photos that should never be unearthed by my loved ones. So somebody needs to come over and destroy all of that. Yeah, like dump acid on my hard drive. I don't care what you have to do.
Hey, as long as I can have your vinyl records, I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, like whatever you want to come get, you know, all $206 of all of my earthly possessions, by all means, come and take it.
I'm taking your ottoman. I love your ottoman.
Yeah, take my ottoman, right? That was $4 right there. I don't have a will or anything like that. But then the other thing I told them too is like, you know, you need to make sure I look good in the casket. Like, I don't want you relying on the funeral home to do my makeup. Like, you need to hire a professional makeup artist. Like, that is my dying wish. Like,
So do you want to have an open casket?
yeah, I want everyone to have one last look at the goods. You know what I mean? Like, I told them, I said,
It's a weird thought.
Drain me, like they could drain me of my bodily fluids so I look thin, but then throw me in like my nicest dress, spray tan me down, have someone come professional do my hair and makeup, and then you could even prop me up in the casket if you want. That wouldn't offend me.
See, that's a weird thought. Do hot people still look hot when they're dead in the casket? That's a good question.
Well, thank you for calling me hot, but also I better look good in the goddamn casket. I'll pay top dollar, but I need to look good in that casket. And I also want to be wheeled into my wake 20 minutes late because I want to die as I lived. And I've never shown up to anything on time in my life, as you know. So I don't think that, in death it should be any different. I'm like, the people should have to wait for 30 minutes and then just wheel me in like propped up. So, that's
I always thought it was weird that at a wake the body is already there. There should be an entrance.
Like a grand entrance? But listen, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, like wrestling.
You want to hear something like really morbid and terrible? And I think it's hysterical, but every time I hear the story, people get like so upset. I one time was going to the wake of she was like my, fourth or fifth cousin, whatever. Like she was old too. Like she was like 92, 93. I was still sad, but she had a great life. So it wasn't like some tragic death. My mom and I roll up to the wake. We walk in, we're late, of course, and we're looking around and she's like, "Do you see anybody we know here?" And I'm like, "No, I don't see anybody." So I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, we are late. Maybe people came and they left. So I walk up to the casket and it's not my cousin in the or my aunt in the casket. It's like some other old woman. And my first instinct is like, I start laughing because I'm like, oh my God, who shows up to the wrong wake? But so now I'm giggling after looking in the casket. Everybody is looking at me like, what the fuck is like? And then my mom, because we have like contagious laughter, like she starts giggling, and I'm like, oh my, we have to get out of here right now. We have to get out. It was so bad. And then like the more that like we were waiting, like the funny, I was like, oh my God, like these people. Can you imagine showing up to somebody's wake and laughing? You guys had the wrong
time or the wrong venue?
We was in the wrong room. We didn't realize there was two rooms. So they were having there was like a body upstairs and a body downstairs. And we, of course, Dana and I went to the wrong one. So I was like, okay, so that was not great. And then, yeah.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned, for sure. Mm-hmm. So, apropos of nothing, I've been into like redheads lately. Or do you have like a redhead fetish? Or do you find like redheaded women?
No, not at all. You know what I like? I like the unnatural redheads. I like when particularly a Hispanic girl puts on some fake red hair. I like that. That's about it.
Interesting. Like Natalie Marie, like you like that kind of a look?
Yes, all about that. A little too fit for my taste, but absolutely.
What about Joan from Mad Men? Like she's not hot?
I mean, she's just a beautiful, hot lady, of course, but not because of her red hair, no.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on lately, but like, you know me,
person.
I have like weird tendencies, and like right now I'm just super into like the ginger thing. Like I don't know what's going on.
Like the Ron Weasleys?
Yeah, like Ron Weasley. Like, I don't know. You know me. Like I just go through it. Like next week it'll be something completely different. But right now it's like the redheads. But I've never like hooked up or had sex with anybody who's redhead. So I also like, is that like true? Like, is it true that their like pubes are red? That's like a real thing?
I think it varies. I once asked a redhead friend of myself if his pubes were red. He said no. He said his were black.
Interesting. So I guess you're like a special redhead if your pubes are red. So that's not like across the board. Like that is like you're like touched by the hand of God if your pubes are red.
I've seen redheads with black eyebrows or brown eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that too. I feel like they usually have lighter eyebrows. That's so weird. I never thought. You know what else is interesting to me? Like nipple color variations. Like I always thought that like, you know, like if you're Caucasian, you have pink nipples, and then if you like are African that you have like, or like of African descent that you have brown nipples, and then that was it. I didn't realize that white people could have brown nipples. Like Lena The Plug, the porn star. I've been following her pregnancy very closely on Twitter, and she posted a picture, and I was like, oh my God, she has brown nipples. And I don't know what her ethnic background is. Like she could be like something, but I was like, oh, I had no idea. Fascinates me.
I've seen them before. It happens. But, it also happens a lot when someone has fake breasts. Sometimes their nipple changes a little bit. It gets a little darker.
Really? I did not know that. I didn't know the color could change.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody gets breast surgery, sometimes the nipple stays completely the same. Sometimes it expands, and sometimes it shrinks. And when it shrinks, it tends to get a darker color.
I did not know that. That's fascinating. Wow, look at you, Al. Like,
I'm an expert.
You have like a whole life I feel like I don't know about. This week I said to you, like, I was convinced that you're secretly a furry. Like that you're one of those people, because you're so into Disney that you like to dress up as like a Disney character or an animal and have sex with people. And you know me, I wouldn't judge. That's like my favorite episode of Entourage, when drama.
Oh, and Turtle, of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's Turtle, and then he won't do it, so drama goes instead, which is fucking hysterical. I feel like that's what you do, and you swear you don't, and we'll take you at your word. But
I swear I don't. I wouldn't be as afraid as Turtle is in the show. Like, I don't think there's anything to be afraid about. It sounds like an interesting idea. I'm not against it by any means.
Right.
I just don't see any attraction
to having sex with the suit on.
Yeah, because that kind of takes away, like, what's the best part of like sex?
Right, the body.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that too, because this week, my cousin and I were talking about this chick from my hometown who will obviously remain unnamed, but we were talking about her, and my cousin was like, oh yeah, but she's like a sweatpants slut. And I had never, have you heard that phrase before?
No, I'm trying to piece together what that could mean.
That's what I said. I go, what's a sweatpants slut? And she's like, oh, it's like a slut, but she dresses like, grody, or like she dresses down, like, so you don't know, like she's not, you know what I mean? And I was like, I know
exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I had never heard that before, and then in my head I was like, oh, that's true, she is a sweatpants slut. And then I was like, okay, so if she's a sweatpants slut, that makes me a nude prude, because I'm a nude prude because I like barely wear clothing, but I also barely have sex with anybody. So I'm like, I'm the nude prude. And then I'm like, I'm what one in the old times might refer to as a tease, probably.
Probably. I think a lot of online dates you've had would probably agree.
Yeah, I mean, whatever though. Like, I feel like, you know how I feel about that. I feel like you can't necessarily, I mean, people are gonna judge no matter what, and that's fine. But yeah, like I dress the way that I dress because I like my body, I like femininity, I like, being sexy. And listen, like one day, like these bad boys are gonna be dragging on the ground. They're gonna be like an old Basset Hound. My grandmother used to have like a Basset Hound named Busky. He was so old that his balls, like his skin, would literally drag across the ground when he walked. And when I look at my body, I'm like, yeah, it's all good right now. But like when I'm old, like my boobs are going to be dragging across the floor. Like I'm going to have to knot them and throw them over my back just to play with my grandkids. So I want to capitalize. What?
Tie up your breasts.
Yeah, why not? I'll just clip them back. But I want to capitalize on this now because it's not going to be like this, forever. Everything's not going to be right and tight forever. So why not? And again,
I have a feeling you're going to be one of those 80-year-olds that are still like, putting on their makeup, still like dressing attractive, all that shit. I have a feeling you're going to do that till the day you die.
Oh, 100%. Why the fuck not? Like that's I don't know. I told you, like that's my favorite part about being a woman is like expressing your femininity and like
absolutely
being able to be sexual and.
But here's a hot take. I find the sweatpants sluts hot.
Oh, why?
Yes. When I see an attractive girl in sweatpants and in a baggy t-shirt, I'm a little attractive. I couldn't tell you why, but I'm a little attracted to it.
Well, I'm speaking of somebody who's not very attractive and also wears sweatpants and also is a slut. It's not like she's
then
hot,
she's just
like
striking
dressed down.
striking
That
out
is
everywhere.
hot. That's sexy. When a girl is like hot but she dresses down, like that's hot. I'm just talking about a girl who is a very average woman, and God bless her because the world needs all types. But she's like that. And then, you know, like when I'm home, I can't go to 7-Eleven without running into 4 guys that she's fucked. Like that kind of a person. And it's fine and it's all good and God bless because, you know, whatever. But I'm just saying, the reason why it was prompted was my cousin had told me that this girl's father was, you know, saying like was commenting on how another girl dressed. And I was like, not for nothing, but he really shouldn't, you know, he has no room to talk because, and then, you know, it kind of just spiraled from there. But whatever, it's fine. Do we want to... Speaking of hometown, I actually wasn't planning on talking about this, but it was like in the news lately. You know, I'm half Italian, half Sicilian. This Christopher Columbus situation, and we've actually talked about this before on the podcast, like just as like a passing whatever. But like this kills me. Like my own damn people are like, you know, fighting for the Christopher Columbus Day and statue. Like as if there aren't 100 other Italians or Italian Americans who we could celebrate. Instead, we have to, you know, celebrate the Jeffrey Epstein of the 1400s. Like that's the best we could do.
And Columbus wasn't even Italian.
Well, no, he was Italian, but he was working for Spain when he was an explorer. So he, yeah,
no, the name Columbus doesn't sound Italian. I have never met one Italian named Columbus.
Well, neither have I. The whole thing is fishy. But he also didn't even discover America. He like discovered the West Indies. Like the whole thing is fucked.
Yeah, no.
He discovered the West
It's
Indies.
Italians old Italians are afraid of change. They're threatened by change, and that's what it is. They don't like the change.
I know. They have like, you know, like the Knights of Columbus Club. And I remember like when I was dating the mayor of my town, I was dating his son. Like this poor kid, I gave him like, I probably like traumatized him because I would go into their house and I would see like a letter from the Knights of Columbus. And as soon as his dad, the mayor, walked in, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, and he would be like, what's wrong? And I was like, and I would go into my whole thing about Columbus. And he was like, oh, I know, but it's like whatever. But I was like, it's embarrassing that we can't just agree that we should replace him with somebody else. Like, we can celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Everybody can have the day off, which is what I feel like half of the public is worried about. And then Italians, like, we can find other Italian Americans to celebrate. Like, he is not the best we can do. He was actually a terrible person. He had syphilis. He trafficked like 12-year-old girls. He cut the hands off of people who didn't bring him.
We're still talking about Columbus here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not a good person. Mm-hmm. And he stole credit from Leif Erikson. What's that about?
Wait, what'd you say? He did what?
He stole credit from Leif Erikson.
Oh, right. I forgot.
He did not discover America.
Yeah, Leif Erikson. See, and then like SpongeBob being woke as fuck, like they knew enough to celebrate, you know, Leif Erikson. Like,
so I looked it up, by the way, and sure, the Republic of Genoa. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Miss Italian lady, but sure, that is where Italy is now today. But when he was born, that was not Italy, so he is not Italian.
Interesting. I mean, yes. I don't know. I'm just like, you know, again, like he literally was the Jeffrey Epstein of his time. I'm like, as an Italian, I would hope that that's not indicative of our entire cult. Like, I would literally rather have them erect like a statue of Pauly Walnuts, like, you know, than this fucking dude.
The Jersey Shore boys.
Yeah, literally anybody. Like, there are some, like Lady Gaga, Italian. Like, I posted this on my Insta story today. Like Marissa Tomei, like.
Oh.
In
lovely.
My Cousin Vinny, Frankie Valli, like
yes,
like anybody, like there are so many other good Italian Americans, and you're like, no, like let's stick with the fucking dirty dick pedophile murderer piece of shit. Like we could just rededicate the parade, you guys. It's not a big deal.
You know what happens though is say you choose Frankie Valli instead. And then 200 years later, they're going to find some sort of dirt on Frankie Valli, and then there's going to be some sort of protest against Frankie Valli.
No, because I know I went to school, and I'm friends with his daughter, So I happen to know, no, he's a good person. I stand
You're
by
friends
that.
with Frank Valli's daughter?
Well, I'm sorry, his granddaughter. Like her name's Olivia. She's an incredible person. And her mother Tony is his daughter, or one of his daughters, and they're both fucking riots. They're amazing. So I will stand by that. No, he's a good Italian, and he can be on the statue. So, okay. But it's not to say that there's somebody else out there who we can't dig shit up on. Like, who knows? Somebody suggested Madonna, and I was like, fuck you. It's not going to be Madonna with her, like, god-awful, like, bathtub video she made during the pandemic. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And she's definitely drank some baby blood, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to lend credence to QAnon theories. You know that, but it's true. If there's anybody... If there's anybody who's done some weird shit, like, it's definitely Madonna. People like to accuse, like, Angelina Jolie of doing stuff like that, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure she's, like, a little bit weird, but I don't know that she's, like, I hope she's not a baby blood drinker. Like,
if I had a bet, she wasn't, but, you know, she looks like the person that would.
Well, she
does not look normal.
Speaking of blood, do you remember when she was dating Billy Bob Thornton and they were, like, carrying around, like, vials of blood from each other and, like, people, like, shit all over them for it? Like,
I didn't know that. I know they dated, but I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, no, they did. And I just am like, I mean, to most people that was so weird. And as a kid, I thought it was weird, but now that I'm older, I'm like, what's the big deal? Like,
Well, she also kissed her brother on the red carpet.
Oh, that's a big deal. That's gross. Yeah, like, like kissing your brother on the, like, I love my brothers, but, like, I'm not kissing them on the lip. Like, there is no state of elation in which I'm gonna, like, kiss one of my family members on the lips. Like, that's like a little.
And listen, in general.
You know, I have, like, backwoods. I'm like 25% backwoods. Like, I have some backwoods blood in me. I'm still not kissing any close family members on the lips. Like, that's weird. You can't do that. That's very bizarre.
Yeah, I know some people that grew up kissing their moms and dads on the lips, and I think that's even a little strange, to be honest.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
Like, I'm not gonna, like, kill you for doing it, but, like, I think I'm not gonna ever do that with my kids, in my opinion.
Oh my God. Well, I will say though that, like, it's funny because the Italians are, like, one of those cultures that are very physically affectionate. I mean, not like stuff like that, but I mean, grown men will kiss each other on the cheek, and it's like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, not kissing on the lips, but, like, are Puerto Ricans like that? Like, are they very physically affectionate?
With family, yeah. I mean, they don't do the whole guys kissing each other thing, but no, yeah. You know, a lot of love, a lot of amour, as they say. You know, Italians
are like that too. Like. And that's, like, one of the things that I definitely like about the Italian culture is, like, I've said this before, but it's like, we know how to feed you, we know how to fuck you, and that's pretty much it. But those two things are important. Like, sustenance and sex are important. So, you know, I feel like, you know, it's not the worst two things to be good at. But yeah, those are, like, in my mind, like, those are our two claims to fame. Have you ever had sex with an Italian girl?
I'm trying to think. No.
Really?
Well, I've had sexual relations, like not full sex, but other stuff.
Okay. Well, you fooled around, and how was it? And you better answer this question very carefully, Al. I'll just say that right now.
No, yeah, I'm very much into Italian girls, not like young girls. Girls my age, and the reason I say particularly girls is I don't like Italian women. I don't like when they grow up past their 30s. That's when I have a problem.
What? Why?
Yeah, I've worked a lot in New York, and for people listening, in New York, everyone's Italian.
That's true.
Yeah, so every job I have some sort of receptionist or person I work with that has that, you know, New York Italian accent, and they're just all in your business. They want to know who you're dating, what you're eating. They want to know all that shit, and sometimes it's just a fucking headache.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could be kind of nosy. Like, you know, we need to have all the intel. We definitely, like, well, I'm the same way. Like, you know me. Like, I turn into, like, J. Edgar Hoover when I want to know something. Like, I am, like...
Yeah. So, like I said, I love Italian girls. They're beautiful. I'm even a little Italian. Love the Italians. I'm not really fond of the middle-aged Italian woman.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So you'll take an Italian girl between the ages of like 20 and 35, but anything after that is like a no-go for you.
Even 35 is pushing it a little bit. I think 30. And then I'll take them back. I'll take them back at the 60s. You know, once they become an Italian nonna, then I'm back on board.
Do you think, like, I feel like women or like people always like Latina women or Latina girls because like they're spicy, which I agree. And then they also almost always have like a nice ass. Like it's just like given.
It's wonderful.
Do you feel like you could say the same about like Italian women? Like I feel like Italian women are pretty like, you know, spicy for the most part. Like not all of them, but
I think that the modern Italian woman, because you know maybe like the older Italian women from back in the day, they might close their mouths a little bit in front of their abusive husbands. That was kind of the deal. But these days, Italian women kind of do speak their mind, just like a Latina, and I think they kind of blend a little bit. A Latina and an Italian girl kind of blend these days.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I feel like I have that. Like I for sure have like that like spicy, like hot-tempered. Like I recently came to like the conclusion like I could now admit that I have a rage problem. Like I have an anger problem, and I get it from my grandfather who's 100% Sicilian. Like, and he told me that one day too. He's like, yeah, like I have like an anger problem. You probably get that, you probably get that from me. And I was like, no, I 100% do. I am like, I can go from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds flat. Like I just, and when I am like rageful, like I borderline blackout. Like it's
you're very opinionated. You have feelings and you express them, and I think that's a good thing about you, Bri.
It's a good thing right up until you're like pulling down the window treatments in your home and using the rod to hit your brother over the head. It's amusing right up until that point. But yeah, no, we've gotten into some like literal knockdown dragouts in my house, and I'm very fiery and like very hot-blooded. I'm working on it, kind of, sort of, a little. I hope to be a better person one day. I think
you meditate a lot, right?
Yeah, I do. But it's like, it's so funny because I'm like so good at it. But then again, like the minute that I get mad, it's like, oh, go to your happy place. And then like the other side of my brain is like, fuck that shit. Like, let's beat somebody up.
Well,
like, let's ruin someone's life right now.
It's the classic Seinfeld Serenity Now. Sure, you can have a mantra and keep bottling the shit up, or you can just let it out. And I think you're doing the right thing, Bri.
Yeah, my mantra should just be like, you're too cute for jail, it's not worth it. You're too cute for jail, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely have to get that in check. My grandfather's hysterical. I feel like he actually would be a great guest on the podcast because, like, he has the craziest stories. He was court-martialed. He was in the Marines for 4 years, which is, like, not even that long. And inside of those 4 years, he was court-martialed 4 times. And
wow.
He managed to actually be, like, honorably discharged. I don't know how. But he was, like, he's a nut. He's had, like, all kinds of rage incidents. He one time was arrested with his boss in New York because he started a fight. And they all ended up getting arrested. Like, he probably would be a great guest. He's, like,
This is your mom's side?
Yeah. It's my mom's father. And we definitely have the same, like, I told you the other day that he's banned from the New York Rangers blog and I think one other sports blog because he was like threatening people on the blog.
Do you call him Grandpa or do you call him
Poppy? He's my Poppy.
He's your Poppy. Okay.
Yeah. And he's just he's a riot, and I think he would be a good guest for the show. He definitely would entertain us.
Well, are we gonna fly him in or are we gonna get him on the phone?
We'll probably at this point, I've got to keep him safe, so we'll get him on the phone. But no, he for real, he has like some good stories, and we just can't get him like too inflamed because then, like, God forbid, he'll have like a heart attack or some shit. But he's no, I think he would be a good guest. Actually, right. Speaking of not speaking of, but with everything going on with race in this country right now, he was once, I don't know if he was just kicked out or arrested, but he was down south, like when he was in the military. He went to like an all-black club with another cadet who was white, and they were up in like the whites only section. And he was like, there were 4 people up there. He was like, and we were looking down, and there were like some really hot girls. down, in like the quote unquote, like the black section or like the colored section, whatever they called it back then. So he's like, so we went down there like to go flirt with them and dance. And it was not good. It did not end well. Like, again,
Wow.
I can't remember if they were arrested or if they got in a fight and they got kicked out. But that was not, like the mixing was not welcome. But he was like, yeah, like there were some hot girls down there. Like, that wasn't going to stop me from, and I was like, again, typical Sicilian. Like, they think with the other head, if you know what I mean.
Believe me, I do.
Anywho, all right, we're hitting the 35-minute mark. Do we have any closing thoughts, any remarks, or anything for this episode?
I just think we should have your grandfather on. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Okay, I'm down. I feel like, and actually next week is Father's Day, so that would be like a perfect time to do it.
Yeah, so maybe a little surprise for the listeners. We'll see.
I like it. He would be great. He would love it. So, all right. So Dave Veneri will be on next week, hopefully, or in the coming
Can we have him
weeks.
on with Ron Jeremy? That'd be wonderful.
Oh my God, I would die. They probably agree on a lot of things politically because my grandfather is, like I said, he's Italian. He's an ex-Marine, but he also is an atheist and a liberal, which is like very uncommon of Italians. So he would definitely I feel like he probably would get along with like Ron Jeremy.
Yeah. And they both got big schlongs. We know that.
Oh God, ew, I don't want to think about that. But also I don't want to think about it. So God only knows. You can ask him, but don't tell me the answer. That could be like a guy conversation. But yeah, on that note, we'll end on schlongs. We'll end on Italian schlongs. That's like a good place to end the episode, I think. But yeah, so everybody stay safe. We love you. The twins and Al and I wish you a good week. And until next time.
Whoa, Bri Hunter is fucked.